India's future in Test cricket will be revisited now. The next time they play Test cricket is in the West Indies. Now, do we see the same set of batters carrying on? Because there's an argument to be made either way. Rahane certainly has added new life to his Test career, and yet there is still a chat on whether these are the same core Test players that should play now the next couple of years, where we begin a new WTC cycle. So, how would you manage that?
The one thing is we don't have excessive Test cricket. So, how much do you plan for and how much do you invest in old and young players? Just a few months back, or maybe a year back, I was priding myself or talking about the depth that we have in our seam bowling department.
Yeah.
And suddenly in this match, Bumrah not fit. There have been quite a few unfit Indian fast bowlers. Prasidh Krishna,
yes,
for example, Jasprit Bumrah. So maybe just for Test cricket, India need to create a
new
depth.
pool.
Yeah, there's just Jaydev would not cut. And now, as you mentioned about looking for specific Test players, Travis Head and Steve Smith were the game changers. Both didn't really play in the IPL or don't play a heavy dose of T20 cricket. So keep identifying guys who are not going to be fatigued or don't have to make the kind of adjustment that you need to do from IPL, T20 cricket to Test cricket, and focus on those guys. And about time that we start rewarding guys who get runs at the first class level. Find out players who've been top scorers, not just on runs. The selectors could look at guys who are future Test players who could get runs in foreign conditions. So I would like to see at least 3 new batters come into play in the picture, and 3 seam bowlers as well. Just to come in, and if somebody gets injured, you still have somebody like a Scott Boland coming in and being a formidable bowler. India have to go back to Umesh Yadav, which is not a good sign. So yeah, there is a little bit of refurbishment. That
do you have any names though in mind, or do you think this is just a vision that you're saying?
When it comes to batting, they just have to look at first-class performers and not just go purely by who's been the top run getter. And if you really look for a number 3, 4, 5, the batting wars have been in number 3, 4, 5, and you'll find somebody who has a decent technique, appetite for runs, good defense. That's the guy to back. And we've learned from the IPL and so many other formats. You keep backing somebody, eventually.
The likes of Yashasvi Jaiswal, Rinku Singh, they all enjoy good first-class records too. So we're not speaking just on the back of an IPL.
Yes.
But those are names. Maybe Ruturaj Gaikwad.
KL Rahul could be your number 5, if not your opener. So those are the guys you've got to look at. But to go with the same set of players into the next WTC cycle wouldn't be proper planning. And I'm sure Rahul Dravid would be frustrated with the kind of people that he's getting, because there's so much cricket that India plays. India plays more cricket than anyone else.
Yeah.
So ultimately what you get in front of you is not really the first choice playing 11 squad that Dravid would want.
Yeah. Do you also sense, Brad, having followed enough of our IPL cricket and looking at the depth, that depth conversation now seems to be slightly, in the past, or a bit of a myth, because you have just a few injuries and your resources don't quite look as good. From the players that you've seen, mentioned some of the names as batters. I'm also thinking of names like Umran Malik, Arshdeep Singh. Can they become red ball bowlers? Should India even try to develop them as red ball bowlers? They also have the issue of their spinners aging slightly.
Again will be playing a lot of the IPL.
They'll be playing a lot of white ball cricket, so they've got a lot of options. But that seems to be adding to more of the confusion rather than having sort of a clear path in making India a formidable team in every ICC event.
Yeah, it's interesting. The one thing I don't think India have a problem with is depth. We've got to remember this was a one-off game. India done extraordinarily well, as Australia have to get to this point. They've been the most consistent teams in the last couple of years. But having worked with VVS Laxman, I know he'll be working very hard and working overtime at the centre of excellence to make sure he's got the next crop of players ready. I've seen Ashdeep, for example, at Kings. He's definitely got talent with the new ball, left-hander as well. Malik's got genuine pace. And I think what you'll see now in this next cycle is those sort of players will all of a sudden pop up on a West Indies tour. They'll pop up on different tours, because the best way to educate these players is to take them on a tour and educate them on the job. Get them to have a really good look at what preparation looks like in the Test arena. start to work with guys like Virat Kohli, Bumrah when he comes back to mentor these guys and show what you need to be a test cricketer for India. So I don't see India's depth as being a problem, but I think what will happen now is I'll start to do a lot more tours with these guys to get them educated and ready to go.
Just a quick thought on, the more I'm applying my mind on this topic, what can let you down in an event like this, and it's happened to India as well, that if some of your key test players are also your key T20 players, they're going to be playing a lot of cricket, whether it's private leagues or, bilaterals or white ball 50 overs cricket. So maybe, quietly keep looking for guys like a Pujara that we've had, Ajinkya Rahane, played in the IPL, but guys who may not be hot property in white ball cricket or IPL, but can be, good quality or potential test player. Those are the guys that somebody like a Dravid can invest in, and those guys will be ready and raring to go in a one-off like this or a test series. But if you have your the fulcrum of your batting and bowling also playing regularly, T20 cricket, white ball cricket and the IPL, then these kind of things are bound to happen.
Yeah, especially the nature of it being a one-off test in foreign conditions. Just a last final question, just 2 or 3 players. Pujara, you see him part of the test setup going forward? Because someone will have to make room if you want these new players to be blooded in.
I'm not going to actually say anything at this stage. I'm going to apply my mind for a while, and it's all about planning. What's the vision that you have? On performance, Pujara, if you look at his recent performance, this is just a failure after a run of good scores. But what's your vision? What's your plan for the future? I think all your selections will depend on where India wants to go. Ajinkya Rahane has got enough runs to be playing.
Rahane has made the argument.
So Pujara, Virat Kohli got 100 before this test match in India. So it's all about your long-term vision.
Sure. So then, there's no point. I was going to ask you about Umesh Yadav and KS Bharat as well, but I'm going to leave it there. But maybe I'll turn that to Brad just very quickly on KS Bharat. There was enough chat on whether India could have been bold with an Ishan Kishan selection. From what you've seen of his keeping, his batting, is he the man to be India's first choice keeper? We know Rishabh Pant's going to be out for a while now, Brad. But is Bharat the man?
Well, if you look at his gloves, I thought he was outstanding during the test match. He was really sharp behind the stumps. He actually looks a really good cricket brain as well. We've seen a lot of the referrals when he's the one that comes up and he's brave enough to come up to Rohit Sharma and Virat Kohli and make a decision there, not on emotion, but on what actually seen. So I think he's got a lot of talent behind the stumps, but he's going to have some pressure on him from guys like Ishan Kishan, because that type of player in the modern game, he's a very, very dangerous player. And if he can get his wicket keeping up to the standard of Test cricket, we know he can play a similar role to Pant with the bat. So as we said before, they've got a lot of options, but it's really important not to be reactive after a one-off game. The last couple of years have been really consistent India in their performance, really consistent in their selections as well. So yes, they've got to look at their top order runs. They've got to understand why they're not averaging as much as they should. Is it technical? Is it mental? Is it not overstimulation? They've played too much, but let's not be too reactive now on a one-off test match.
Yeah, fair enough. Wise words.
Yeah, which would be a mistake if you react immediately, because an ICC loss like this, there's obviously going to be a lot of reaction. It will resonate a lot more than a bilateral series loss. But only on KS Bharat, I thought his keeping was pretty impressive. He surprised me in the way he was keeping to the pace bowlers. Fortunately for him, barring the first day, it was sunny, so the ball wasn't swinging that much. But these days you've got to be a good batter as well.
Yeah.
And his batting, what I saw in India and now as well, doesn't convince me as he's got something special. Now, it's not so much about KS Bharat and how he is done. You always got to look at options that could make your team better. And until Rishabh Pant is fair, you've got 2 options. You've got Ishan Kishan, the keeper and batter, and then KL Rahul is bound to get fit soon.
But as a test keeper, you think of it?
Because when you look at test keeping, the kind of standards that we see, those standards of Alan Knott and Bob Taylor, those standards are gone.
Sure.
And KL Rahul has been a keeper in the past. And, we've seen KS Bharat keep wickets. KL Rahul will really solve a lot of problems until Rishabh Pant comes in, because he'll be batting down the order. There's no place at the top anymore for him. There's Gill and Rohit Sharma who will be there for a while. So Ishan Kishan and KL Rahul are my 2 sort of options to look at and see whether they're going to be making this team
Very
better
interesting.
with those two options.
जिस पे नाम सिर्फ एक का हो
लेकिन हो पूरे देश के नाम।
उस चीज को हाउ डू आई डिस्क्राइब इट इस जर्सी के लिए मेरे फीलिंग समझाना इम्पॉसिबल है
पर इसे पहन के
I feel just one thing, impossible
इज नथिंग